Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you guys are doing great today. I have, I think, an exciting, fun video that you guys will all enjoy. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Brad Griffiths. My company is Brad Griffiths Designs, and I mainly create costumes for figure skaters. However, I do branch out to other performance-based sports like baton twirling, competitive dance, some pageants when they dance or twirl around the stage. So basically anything that's a leotard that has crystals and possibly a skirt, I can make. So I have decided to do an experiment today on glue. I know a lot of you guys follow me, and we have been discussing glue lately because the glue that I normally use, which is E6000, which is probably the most popular glue to use, at least on costumes and adding rhinestones. So that is what I have used for the last, I'm going to say, 25-ish years. However, there's been discussion lately because the texture and smell of E6000 has changed. The smell is not great. It has made me feel a little sick, a little dizzy. Now, I know that people who are not used to the previous E6000, when they would smell it, they'd be like, oh my God, that stuff smells. And I just got used to it and I no longer smelled it. Never didn't feel sick or anything. But they changed their formula a little while ago, and I've definitely seen a difference in the smell and how I feel when I use it, which is, I'm not sure, is so great. This is not a bash video on E6000 because I am gonna try to look and see if I can find something better. If I don't, then I'm just gonna have to use it because I really like how it performs. Now, I had gotten contacted maybe 2-3 months ago by another dressmaker asking, did I see a difference in E6000? And at that time I said, no, maybe you just got a bad batch. However, when I ordered my next batch, I noticed it did have the smell, like she said, and slightly different consistency. So I put out to my Instagram, I have about a little over 70,000 followers on Instagram currently as of the filming of this video. And I put out into a post and a story like, did other people notice a difference? And I got a ton of people coming, messaging me and coming to me saying, yes, I do smell a difference in this glue. I just thought it was me, but we all came to the consensus that something had changed. So I had a few people who contacted me who said they had contacted the company who makes the E6000, which is, I believe, called Eclectic. And they basically just got, yes, we did change our glue about 1.5 years ago. And it is, you know, slightly different consistency, maybe has a slightly different smell, but it still performs the same. Which I know a lot of people were not happy with that answer because it kind of felt like they were putting them off or whatnot. I feel like people didn't really notice it until a couple months ago. So if it really was 1.5 years ago that they had changed it, I don't think anybody, maybe we weren't getting the batches until a couple months ago. Again, this is not a bash on that company, Eclectic, or anything. We're just trying to find something that works that doesn't make us feel sick. So I ended up emailing them and just let them know who I was. And they ended up sending me a very nice email saying, you know, we're sorry that you're having issues. Let us please send you some of our items, because I told them, like, I think, you know, I'm going to have to start looking into some other options if this is how it's going to be, because it's making me feel sick. And so they said, give me the tube number, which I gave them. And then they said, please let us send you some other products of ours to see if you like any of those better. So they ended up sending me the E6000 Premium, the E6000 Plus, which I had never heard of those two, the Quick Hold Goop, which I had used a few years back, and I feel like it is similar to E6000. So we're going to test that out again. And then, of course, the Fabri-Fuse, which I know a lot of you guys use, and I've had some issues with. However, we're going to test it out today, and I will show you the issues that I've had with it, and then I will show you the I guess, the solve for that issue that somebody suggested to me. So they sent me these 5 products. So this, of course, is not an ad, but I thought as long as they were sending me those products, let's try it out together, and I can let you know what I think of those. And then I have some other glue. So I have Gem-Tac, which so I would say 99.999% of the time I use the E6000, but every once in a while I will use Gem-Tac, and I do like it. I always suggest it to people who felt like E6000 was a little too toxic for them, and maybe they were just doing their own costumes, or they were new, because as you know, with E6000 it can also be difficult to work with unless you really know what you're doing, unless you take the time to like work it and figure out what the best way to work it is. I've always suggested Gem-Tac for easy going. However, it does dry a little slower, and it works a little differently. However, I have liked how it has held up from my little bit of testing that I've done with it. And then we've got Power-Tac, which is also by the same company as Gem-Tac, which is called Beacon, right? Beacon. So Power-Tac, we'll try that out. And then Fabri-Tac. So to me, this almost looks like an E6000 type of stuff. However, I haven't opened it, so I don't know. And then this almost looks like maybe Fabri-Fuse type of vibe. And then we've got Aleen's Jewel-Lit Glue. Now, I am pretty sure that when I first started doing costumes, maybe about 30 years ago, I was 13 when I started, I feel like maybe I used this stuff. So we're going to try this again after 30 years. And then this is one that you guys suggested to me, which is called, let me get around so I can see the name of it, Fevicryl. So we're going to try that out. And then, of course, I had a number of people say that they use the B7000. So we're going to try that out as well. So I have made so that every sample base will be exactly the same, so that for this experiment, we are consistent. I have made a 5.5 by 8-inch workspace that we can work on for every sample, and I have the name at the top so that we can remember. Now, as of today is July 5th when I'm filming this. I'm going to do the testing of all this, and then I'm going to let it sit for at least a week so that it can all cure and it can all dry and do its thing, and then we will come in and we will check, do stones pop off? I've heard a couple people say that when some of them get wet that it will reactivate the glue and they will come off, so we will test that as well. But I have made the base of all these little sample pieces exactly the same so that they will be consistent along every glue, so that we'll have the same base. Now, these little samples I've put together are exactly like the bodice of one of my costumes. So I have used my liner fabric, which is a 2-way lycra, which I do sell on my stock website, bradgstock.com, if you would like to buy my lining. And then I use temporary spray adhesive to glue the lining to the lycra piece so that it is one piece and easier to work with. So that's a black lycra that I got from Spandex House in New York. And then I have a layer of mesh on top of that, and then I just serged around the edge so that the mesh stays to it. So this is basically like one of the bodices of my costumes, and we can see how everything works on it. Now I have my crystals here. Now, please do not ask me what brand of crystal I use, because I and I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but I'm under contract that I'm not allowed to use the brand's name. They want to have, from my understanding, they want to have brand control of their brand, and so they don't want people using their name that they do not give permission to. However, they still are very limited to who they allow to buy their crystals, but you have to sign a contract to say, I will not use your brand name for my products, to promote my products. So please do not ask me, please do not put below, oh, he's talking about blah, 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 because I do not want to get in trouble. I have a very good relationship with the company. I buy direct from them, and I do not want to get in trouble. So I'm trying to say the very least. However, they are the best quality crystal, in my opinion, in the whole world. And so that is what I will be using. I have all of my favorite sizes, which are 16SS, 20SS, 30SS, 40SS, 48SS, and then I thought, just for a fun experiment, I got a big, chunky, thick, large stone that we will also put on there to see, does it peel off easy? Because the E6000, you can put whatever size stone on there, and that stuff holds it, and it is hard to come off. I mean, if you really, really pull, it comes off, but this stuff is great. I'm just really sad about that it's making me feel sick when I use it. Makes me feel a little high, and then the smell has gone away. I feel like now that I've been using it for a month and a half, I've gotten used to it. I don't know how good that is. I don't know if I'm growing a big tumor in my brain. Hopefully not. But if I can find something that does not make me feel bad, that works just as well, then I may start using that. However, if I don't, I may just have to just suck it up and use it, because for me as well, since I do a lot of costumes for people and I'm selling a product to somebody, I want to make sure that when I send them their costume, that no stones are falling off. If you are making your own costumes, you may say, hey, I don't mind if I use a glue like this Gem-Tac that holds the stones on really well, but every once in a while a stone here and there falls off, I can just replace them. I'm fine with that. Me being a company and selling a product to somebody and it's selling it for, you know, a pretty nice chunk of change, you want everything to stay on. You don't want to have stones popping off. So I like to have something that is going to really stick. So that is why I have chosen the E6000. So just keep that in mind, that like maybe if you're just doing your own costume for your child or for yourself and you want something that works well, then maybe one of these other ones works, and then you can just, if a stone pops off, you can just replace it and you are fine with that. However, if you want something where the stones are going to stay, use the E6000. Now, there's a video, I think this video, let's see, because I'm filming this in the past, and I have to think about my future. I believe this video is going to come out the first week. I mean, when you're seeing it, you will know when it's coming out, but I believe right now on July 5th, it'll probably come out in a month, which is the first week of August, and I think I will have a video that already came out. So I had a guy's costume in a past video that should have come out by this point. It was a green costume. It was very hard to get on the mannequin form. It didn't have a zipper in it, so I was literally wrestling it on. I used E6000 on that, and I was really pulling at that costume, trying to get it on, and I was worried I was going to rip it, but luckily it got on fine, and I did not lose one crystal from me really, like, I mean, I was pulling, it was just a layer of mesh basically, and those stones stayed on. I know that if I used some of these other ones, they would have popped off. So that is something to keep in mind. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to do the same sample on each one. There may be one, I know on this Fabri-Fuse, I'm going to do 2 separate samples because I'm going to do it how I prefer the crystal to look, and then the suggestion that somebody gave me. Basically, I like it when I put my crystals on, you do not see glue anywhere. I can get that look with E6000, and I tried it with the Fabri-Fuse, but when I do that, I guess I'm not getting enough glue on it, so then they pop off very easily. Somebody said, no, you got to get a ring of glue around the crystal. It kind of like just comes out the side, and it kind of holds it in, and it will stay. So, however, I don't want to be seeing glue. So if I'm doing it and we test this out and the ring of glue, you know, keeps them on, but it doesn't look great, that is going to be, you know, a thumbs down in my, I guess, my review of that glue. All right, so I think we've talked enough. Let's get to testing. So today, July 5th, I'm testing. We're going to let it sit for at least a week. So that would be, is that July 12th? So at least by July 12th or after, then we can do the like test on it to see how well it stays on. Does it pop off? Does the glue, if we get it wet, does it reactivate the glue and it comes off? So we're going to try that. So we are trying these crystals. Now these are in Crystal AB for these big chunky ones. I wanted Crystal AB for the other ones, but I had taken all my Crystal AB crystals home so I could be at home. So I have, these are Blue Zircon Shimmer that we're going to be using today. All right, so I'm going to bring the camera over here, face you down to the table so that you can get a nice view of what I'm doing. we can test everything, and I will give you my opinion, my first reaction opinion of putting the glue on, and then of course we will let it dry, and then we'll give the review of what I think, how it holds up. All right, so let me get you set up over here, and we will get this thing started. All right, we have got our first sample set up. We are going to go with the E6000. Now I'm going to turn all of my samples this direction, the long ways, because the most stretch is from this way, and we can kind of work this way, and we can also do a stretch test. Now we got the E6000. Like I said, this is what I've been using for probably 25 years. I swear by it. Let's just hope that maybe they can adjust the smell so that it is not as bad smelling. But I love this stuff, so anything that I say about any of these companies, it's not against the company. It's just my personal opinion. But I do love this stuff. I just, don't love the smell that they have changed it to. I understand, I will say this as well. I understand that sometimes when you are a company and you're manufacturing a product, that sometimes your raw materials may change. You're not able to get something. Maybe you're thinking you're upgrading it. And so that's why there are the changes. It'd be nice if everything just always stayed the same. But sometimes people, companies are trying to upgrade, or they're not able to get the exact raw materials that they were able to before, and they have to substitute. And so that could be the reason why there is the change in consistency or smell. Now, another thing that has changed is the consistency. It still works basically the same, but I find that it dries quicker, so it doesn't stay as wet as longer. I mean, if you've used E6000, you know that it dries very fast, and that's what I like about it. I can work on a section, let it dry for 2 or 3 minutes, and then move on to the next section, and I don't have to wait an hour for it to dry like some of these other glues that I have tried out before. Now, the consistency has changed just slightly, so I find that it dries quicker, which means that I feel like I'm wasting more glue because it dries, and I have to get rid of that I've squeezed out. So I feel like I'm wasting at least half of the tube because it dries so quickly. And I'm a very quick worker. Keep that in mind. I'm not doing it slowly. And then it also, I feel like, is runnier in the way of not runnier where it's wet. It still feels like the same consistency, but before it would, because I just put it on a sheet of paper and I let it kind of ooze out a little bit and dip into that. Before it would just kind of puddle in one spot. Now it starts moving around like this. And so if it's close to the edge of the table, sometimes it will start like going down the side of the table. And so it never did that before. It normally would just kind of puddle in one area and stay there. All right, so I'm going to open this one up. This is a new tube. So we just pierce it, and then see, I just let it fall. Now I will do different beading techniques on these depending on the glue. So I'm going to do my actual beading technique, which people think is crazy. I use a pin like this with a little pearl on it, and I just hold it in my hand, and I dip it in the glue, and then I hold the crystal in my other hand. I can already smell this glue, by the way. It's already making me feel a little oozy just from that couple of seconds being opened. And then I'll place it on the back, and then I can place it. I like doing this because I feel like it is the cleanest way, and I can place the crystal in the moment. Whereas if you are, some people use syringes with this and they'll put it on the fabric and then go. Sometimes you don't space it correctly or put the dot in the exact right spot. And so I just find that I like being able to place it in the moment. All right, so we're going to do a test of each of these sizes. So we'll start with the 48. Basically what I do is I just dip in, get a little bit on the edge there, and then I will just swipe it on, and then this stuff can be stringy, as you know, so I just twist when I come off. So I'm going to place a 48. We'll place a 40. And I know this is all going to work perfectly. So this is just to show you what I love about this product. So then I'm just going to place the 30. And then we're going to do a 20. And then we'll do a 16. So all went down perfectly, and it all just looks perfect on there. You don't see any glue coming out the sides. That is what I love. Now let's put on one of these big chunkers. So I believe this is called a cosmic flatback stone, but I use these, I like to mix all of these sizes. I like a lot of texture. So basically just swipe it all on like that. And then I can place it on. And so I know this is going to stay. I mean, I can use even bigger than this and they stay. Okay, so now let's do a line of 30s. Okay, so we did 5 in a row, and then I'm going to do 20s in between each one. All right, now we have the 30s, 5 in a row with then 4 in between on each side. I'm going to do just a line, because this will help with a stretch test by doing these lines. So I'm going to do a line of 20s. And then I'm going to do a line of 20s where they are touching each other, because as you can see, these here have a little space, which is a lot of times how I like to do it, just so that it gives a little extra stretch. But we'll do it where there's no space so we can see the stretch, because some of these have stretch on it. All right, and then let's do, I like to sometimes do a 40 and then 2 20s, and a 40 and 2 20s, so we'll do that. All right. I think that's what our sample is going to look like. So we've got the 48, 40, 30, 20, and 16. We've got our big chunky stone. Then we've got our 5 30s with 20s in between. Then we've got 6 slightly spaced out 20s, and then 26 that are right next to each other. And then we've got a 40, 2 20s, 40, 2 20s, and 40. Okay, so I think that is what we will do on everything. Now I can already kind of smell this, you know, and it's kind of making me feel a little high. So I'm going to close it up. We're going to move on to our next sample and see how that goes. But as you can see, it just looks so nice and clean and even. And so that's what I love about this. And I know that like literally in 2 minutes, this will be pretty dry. I mean, you need at least 24 hours to like really let it dry, but this stuff sticks very well with, I mean, 5 minutes, 10 minutes will be, you know, pretty hard to pull off. And you can, you know, but after 24 hours, really hard. But a week, it's going to be, they're going to be on there, and you'll see it when we go to do our pull test. All right, so I'm going to go on to the next. All right. Our next one is E6000 Premium. I had never heard of this, so I don't know if this is, I mean, it's kind of in the same tube, feels kind of similar. So I don't know if this is the same as the E6000. We are going to see, but it does say, you know, it's I'm guessing it's clear, but it does say washer and dryer safe, which normally means that you can put it on fabric. All right, so let's open it. It looks like it's already open. This particular tube just has a little thing. So we're just going to squeeze a little out here. See if I can smell it. Oh yeah, there's a slightly, it almost smells like nail polish. This is a slightly different smell than even the previous E6000. So it slightly smells like nail polish. So let's see. So we'll do our test with, it's a little, it's not as thick. Let's see, going on the stone. So we have 48, 40, but yeah, it definitely smells like nail polish. But still, after getting those on, still looks really pretty. The glue doesn't really come out the edges. So I like that. And then we're going to do our 30s. All right, we got those on. It's a little more, this is a little more liquidy than the regular E6000. Some of the glue did come out slightly from underneath. It is a little more liquidy. It smells almost exactly like nail polish. So that is interesting. Okay, so we're going to let this dry and go on to the next one. All right, next is the E6000 Plus. So what we just did was E6000 Premium, so this is a Plus. So I'm interested to see how this will be different. So I'm gonna open it. It's got a little cap like that. And it has a similar texture. Let's see the smell. Don't really smell anything on that. That one's interesting. All right, so let's put it on and see how she works. All right, first opinion on this one. It doesn't have a smell. It's a little more similar to regular E6000, but it is a little runnier. And I got a little bit on my hands. Like I normally can get a pretty good glob on my pin with the regular E6000, and it stays as a glob. This, when I got a glob, it ran, so I got some on my fingers, and it almost feels a little more tacky. Whereas if I get E6000 on my hand, right at first it will be sticky, but I mean, I've had that on for a while, and it still feels tacky and almost runny on my fingers. And like when I rub it like this, it does. Normally E6000 will kind of ball up and then you just pick it off, whereas this just feels like it's almost oily and a little more tacky feeling, which is interesting. All right, so let's go into the next sample. All right, our next one we have is called Quick Hold. This is also by Eclectic, which makes E6000. It says it's clear and transparent in a similar tube as the other ones. Now on the actual packaging, it doesn't say it on here, but it says for use on metal, glass, wood, ceramics, and more. It does not say anything about fabric. So let's see how she works on fabric. So we'll open her up. Similar tube to one of the other ones, I think the E6000 Premium. I'll just put a little out. It's clear. I'll smell it. It has a little bit of a smell. I would say most similar to the E6000 Premium. Slight. It does. I mean, the E6000 Premium was almost a dead ringer for smelling like nail polish. This has a slight nail polish, but something else in there, so it's not quite as nail polishy as the other. Now, I will just say, going back to the last one, which was the E6000 Plus, using the same pen, it's like I normally can get E6000 pulled off. It's very tacky. Like I still feel it on my fingers. So it definitely has like an oily consistency to it. Move you back over. But it's not. It's almost like there's like a little bit on there that's not coming off the pen. That was the last one, the E6000 Plus. All right, so let's squeeze a little bit of this one out. It definitely seems, oh, it's much, much more liquidy. Like I don't even know if it's gonna, how easily I can do it this way. This, I don't even think you could put this in a syringe. Like it is definitely liquidy. So I'm having a hard time doing this a little bit because I've got my little tripod here, which I keep hitting. Oh yeah, this is so liquidy. So I may not go through the whole thing. I may just do a regular little sample of each size, because this I do not think would work. Ooh, very, 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 very liquidy. Like it drips off. Ooh, and it's got strings. See, there's a string there. Very liquidy, yeah. I don't think this would be a great one to use because it would be very messy. But we'll just do our basic size because this is going to be a mess to try to do everything. So that will tell us, if we don't do the whole sample, that this stuff is not stuff that I would use for this, but we'll just do for experiment to see how it holds to the fabric. But I would definitely not suggest this as something to use. Okay, we've got on each size, and then we're going to do one of our big chunkers. Yeah, it's getting on my fingers, so it's leaving crap on the stones. But much more liquidy. Yeah, there's just a slight nail polish smell with a little bit of something else. I don't know, but yeah. I don't think this is going to be one that we want to use for costuming. Very liquidy. All right, so that one's done. We'll go on to the next one. All right, I decided to start making notes because I thought I don't want to forget this. I know that it's on the video, but I'll start making notes. So that during the midway point, before we wait to see the drying of these different glues, how they go. So okay, next one is going to be Goop. Now this I have used. It's very similar to E6000. I'm not sure what this is, but I will give you my opinion right now. So Goop tube. It's in a very similar tube to the normal E6000, which I buy, which is the, I believe it's 3.7 ounce, and this is also 3.7 ounce. Same tube, just got just has a black top on it instead of white. So we'll open it. A little bit of a smell. I'm putting it right up to my nose, but not too much. All right, I had to get a new pen because the E6000 Plus was tacky. The tackiness of it almost felt like I had to go wash my hands because it almost felt like I had syrup on my hands, like eating pancakes. So that was not great. All right, so let's dip into this. Yes, this has a very similar texture to E6000. So I think so far this one, and like I said, I've used it before, would be a good change. So we're going to just put down all the sizes. All right, this Goop is very similar to E6000, which, like I said, I had used this before. Now this is made by the same company, but if it wasn't made by the same company, I would think like this was a very good dupe for E6000 from another company. But it obviously is something very, very similar. I don't know if it's just another branding, but the same stuff, but it works very similar to the E6000. We will see once it dries, doing pull tests and trying to pull it off, if it is, you know, if it is similar. Now, I would say I feel slightly, a little bit, I don't want to say nauseous, but I feel a similar, you know, feeling to the E6000, but I don't feel it as much as the new E6000, how I feel like really high when I use that. Or not, I wouldn't say really high, but just feel a little, just don't feel good. Whereas I never felt anything with the old stuff. This works very similar to I would say E6000. All right, on to the next one. All right, next one is Fabri-Fuse. Now, I know a lot of y'all have used this and suggested this to me. This has no smell. I have used it before. Like I said, I didn't like how the stones would pop off. However, somebody did give me a little tip, so we're gonna try that on this one. Now, this one is one that you can just use the tip of it to place it down. Now this is also made by Eclectic, who does E6000. I mean, it's called E6000 Fabri-Fuse. But so these first 6 that I've just done, so this is the 6th one, are all by Eclectic, which is the parent company, and they make all this glue. So I'm gonna put it down now. I am gonna do some, like the bigger ones, I'm gonna just do it straight onto the stone and place it like I was just placing the other. However, this is one that I'm also gonna use my rhinestone picker. Now this is on, I got this on Amazon, and I'll have a link below. I have a link below of all these glues plus this rhinestone picker, and this is just the one that I like the best. I've tried a couple, but it has one side that has like where you can kind of move the crystal, and then the other side has the little wax tip that you can pick them up. And so I like this one the best because I felt like some of them, like the wax, didn't pick up as well, but I feel like this wax picks up. So I'll have it below if you would like to buy this one. And they have different colors and stuff, but I thought this one was pretty with the iridescent and little stones in it. So when I go to do the pickup, I'll do that. But we're gonna just start out with just placing it on. So see, it comes out and has a nice little tip. We're gonna put it on. Okay, I'm gonna try to do this first set just how I would normally do it so that the glue doesn't come out, to show how they pop off. Oh, the glue came out slightly on that one. And now I'm gonna do same ones, but with a good amount so that it comes out on the edge. So I think that's what they're saying, is they want, you want it to come out on the edge. So it almost does like a ring around it, so it's kind of holding it, but I feel like I have tried this and that glue doesn't go away, whereas like the Gem-Tac, it can do that, but it kind of clears up. So we'll see the results once it's dry though. Put it all the way down, but like I said, I like to be able to place them in the moment, so that's why I prefer doing it, where I put it on the stone and then place it. But these rounds, see, when you do that, they really come out of the edge. So we'll look at that. Now we'll do on this one, we'll do a lot on this. Let's see how that does, because I've never seen with non-E6000 using the big stones how they stay on. Yeah, let's do some 30s. Then we're going to place a little dot and do those 20s on each one. I just feel like this looks messier than what I'm normally used to. See, so I already got messy. See, you got a little messy right there. I know a lot of you guys use this. I just think it looks messy to me, but maybe you're fine with it being a little messy because it's maybe your own. But see how that's coming up around the sides? I don't think it looks nice. I just think the E6000 is much cleaner looking. Seeing it almost, I wonder if this is one, some of them you have to let it get tacky. I don't know if I'm going too soon, but that's the thing, is I want to work quickly, so I want to be able to put the glue down and just go. But see, this just looks so, I would not be happy if I spent the money that people spend on my costumes and it looked, you can see that with all the glue around it, and see how some of them popped off a little bit. But see how much glue that is? Like, it just, like that's where I tried it, and this is when I do it this way, they pop off. But this way is how people were saying you need to have a little ring around it. And so we'll see when it dries, but I just think it looks messy. So I would not use this stuff because of that. Now I know some of them, like I said, the Gem-Tac, it will look messy at first, and when it dries, you can't see it. I don't think this stuff does that. So we'll see when it dries. I think you still see kind of a plasticky look around the edge there. So we'll see when it dries to get our full review. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one. All right, we're halfway there with this current test. So this is the Gem-Tac. Now I've used this stuff before. Now I'm gonna open it up, but this stuff is, I do like the way this works. Now this is a more slow drying stuff. Now, this is my little tip that you can buy these tips. These are not made by Gem-Tac or Beacon, which is the company, but it just screws on, and it has a really nice applicator. But I'll put this down below so that you can buy it on Amazon. But this, I love this thing, because then you don't have to have your regular tip on, or sometimes people put it in their own bottles. You can just put it in this, and it works great. So now this is one that I will need to place down. We'll get some out. Now this will be one where it looks messy, and I think this is also another one that you probably want to let it, here, I'll just go ahead and do it out on the fabric. This is one where you kind of want to let it sit for a second. I think it works better when you can place them. So here I'm going to place the 48. So it will come out slightly, but this is one that when it dries, it looks better when it dries. Let's do that. We'll get our, so like there. You're going to see it around. It won't look as bad, I don't think, from my memory. It's been a while since I've used it. But, and see, this is why I don't like the picker-up tools. I mean, they just fall every once in a while. I like placing it. I just think it looks so much better placing with your hands. But this is a little hard because I'm doing it from the side, from my normal. Okay, so let's put a big one on the side. I don't think this stuff is going to work great on big stones. It's just my feeling. Okay, so we got that on there. Let's try our little 30s and 20s. I think that's all I want to do with this one. But as you can see, you really see the white but when it dries, it doesn't look as bad. So we will see that when that happens. All right, on to the next one. All right, this is Power-Tac. Now, this is also made by Beacon, who does the Gem-Tac. I have no idea what this is going to be like. I mean, it almost feels similar to like an E6000 tube glue, so we will see when we open it up what this is like. So let's open her up. It has a similar to E6000. Has a similar smell to one of those other ones. Now it is coming out, like just continues to come out. It does almost look like it's going to be a little messy and sticky. Oh yeah, I don't even know if this will be usable. Yeah, see, I'm going into it with that. Just normally what I can do with E6000, and it comes off. This stuff is going to be super messy. So this would not be something that I would use, but we'll do a test just for test's sake on the actual crystal to see how they stay on. But no, this doesn't seem like it's easy to work with. It's very messy. I mean, people say that E6000 is messy, but this feels messy coming out of the tube. It doesn't pull or cut off as nicely as E6000. Yeah, this is much messier. So we'll just do the basic test of each size, and then we'll do a big stone. Ooh, much messier with the smaller stones. It's hard to really even get in there like I do with the E6000 on these small ones with my fingers. But yeah, I don't think this would be a good, oh, see how when I mean, it feels a little tacky on my fingers. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a good option because I think it's going to be messy. So, no to this one. So I need to make myself a note on this one. Yeah, oh, yeah, it's very messy and very tacky. So this one is called Power-Tac. We're going to make our note to say no. All right, so we can put her away. Yeah, this, I mean, as you can see here, it feels like it also is kind of quick drying, but it's very tacky and, oh, yeah. No, not a good one to use. Next one is Fabri-Tac, which is also by Beacon, which did the last two, the Power-Tac and the Gem-Tac. So I guess their branding is the Tac. This one looks similar to Fabri-Fuse, maybe? It looks a little more liquidy. Actually, I can see it in there, and it's moving. This doesn't move, really. So I don't know, this might be a little liquidy. So let's get something I can put it on to make sure. So let's see. Oh yeah, this is very liquidy. So let's put it down straight onto the fabric. Oh yeah, this is very, very liquidy. So no, I would not suggest this stuff. Yeah, it's hard to even get it in, and yeah, it's very drippy, liquidy. I don't think this would be a good one as well. So we'll just do our test for test's sake. But so far, I gotta say, E6000 is still winning it for me. The Goop is very similar, so I guess you could do Goop, but they feel almost the same company. Oh yeah, this is messy going down, and there's little strings. And it's, yeah, I don't think this would be good to use. I'm gonna say this is a no, but we'll do a big one just so that we can do our pull test. Yeah, this is very liquidy. I don't even think you could put this in a syringe. All right, so we did that one. Now we're going to move on to the next one, which is going to be... Right, next one is Aleen's Jewellet. Now, like I said, I feel like I used this when I was first starting out. I may have just tested it and then I didn't, but I feel like this feels very familiar to me. I feel like it's going to be similar to as the Gem-Tac. So we will see what similarity is. All right. Ooh, no, it's a lot more liquidy, I would say, than the Gem-Tac. I wonder if we could use, oh, no, already mixed. Oh yeah, so this comes out a lot. Ooh. I think maybe if you use this, you might want to get maybe something to put it in, but it seems a little more liquidy than the Gem-Tac. So not sure how much I'm going to like this one, but we will try her out. Let's do the big stones, but yeah, that stuff comes out much easier. So I feel like if this works, you may want to get, it's a big glob there. You may want to get something to put it in so that yeah, these are some big globs, so this is going to overtake the smaller stones. And it has a nice, now that I feel like it's getting tacky, a nice consistency. So this may not be, yeah, see that does that ring. So I'll be interested to see, does it do the same thing as the Gem-Tac when it does the ring? So this is the 16, see how much that is. So maybe I need to have, you know what, I'm going to try, I think I have some little bottles. I have these little bottles. So I'm going to try putting it in this and see if it does any better. So we'll just squeeze some in here. I feel like this stuff could work better if it's in one of these bottles. So if it does, let's see. So we can put the cap on. And it has this little thing there. I don't know if this is the best bottle to use, but it has a precision tip. Okay, so this comes out better. Yeah, I think if you're going to use this, you're going to need to have a little bottle. It comes out a lot better. Kind of like that, actually. A little teeny tiny bottle. I'll try to see where I found this and if I can link it through Amazon to use. But let's see how the smaller stones go on with this. This may be better. Yeah, I do like that. Well, this is nice. I do like that. So we'll see how it pulls once it dries, and then see if it does the same thing as the Gem-Tac, because it's getting the little white around it. But a lot of times with the Gem-Tac, like I said, it just completely disappears once it dries down, which is nice. So sometimes they look a little messy, but yeah, no, I do actually like that. Once you put it into one of these bottles, where's my stuff? This works great. So yeah, put it in a little bottle and it works much better. Yeah, it's a little, I feel like it has a little thicker consistency than the Gem-Tac. Oh, so I'm excited to see, does this hold up like the Gem-Tac? Because it seems like it's a little thicker, almost just, I wanted to say slightly similar with a little bit of a gel feel to it. Let's do some 16s and see how those go on. But I actually do like this. Once you get you need to get yourself a little bottle for it. Did I just get excited? I mean, I don't think this is what I'm going to be using as my main glue, but I think as an alternative, especially for people maybe just doing their own, if this is similar to the Gem-Tac, I think I almost like how it goes down better, because the Gem-Tac is a little watery, and you have to let it set for a second before you place it, or sometimes it will be too watery. This is almost gel-like, so I feel like you can put it down a little quicker. Okay, let's do a big guy and see. I actually kind of like this bottle because it's a little, never used it before. I think I just bought it for a test. It is very squeezy. Okay, let's try some, just for excitement's sake, if I just place it straight on some of these bigger ones. It gets a nice look, and what it actually does if it doesn't have a big ring around it like these do. These have big rings. So we're just going to place it straight on and see how that works. We'll do it on all of them. because I can almost see myself liking to just, this works. So I know it didn't, I don't think it works with the, you know, the Fabri-Fuse. You have to get a little ring around it for it to work. So let's see how she'll work when you don't have a ring around it. But that looks, I think that would look pretty clean. Okay, so I do like this Aleen's Jewel-It if you're putting it into a bottle like this. So I'll try to find, I'm pretty sure I got it on Amazon, see if I can find, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, so see if I can find a link to whatever this is. Actually, the paper says Crafter's Companion, Fine Tip Glue Applicator. All right, so we're gonna see how it looks like they have a YouTube and Instagram and a Facebook and a Pinterest. All right. I like this. I like this Jewel-It. Okay, this is a plus so far. We just need to see how she dries down. All right, next one. All right, next one is this Fevicryl. Fevicryl. I don't know how to say that. Whatever that says. Now I feel like this one could be similar to the Jewel-It or the Gem-Tac. Let's see. Let's put it on some paper and see what it. Oh, yep, it's white. You know what? I wonder. Yeah, I guess we'll try it straight from the tube. That's nice. Like this. Yeah, because I feel like I see a lot of people online when they're doing their beading, they have white, so I don't know which white they're using, but it has a similar. So this is more similar, I feel like, to the Gem-Tac than the Jewel-It. It's not as, it's a little more of the liquidy ness to it. I don't want to say liquidy like it's liquid, but I don't know, I want to say it's like has just a little bit of watery, but ooh, yeah, it does feel nice going on. So let's see. So maybe right here at the end we're going to get some goodies. So I feel like some of those ones at the beginning and middle were like, nope, 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 nope. Okay, so we're putting a big one down, and then I'm going to put another one of these bottles. So I'm going to put one in the bottle here and see how I like it out of the bottle. Yeah, this is almost, you know what it reminds me of? Actually, it reminds me of Elmer's glue. It's almost like that kind of consistency. So let's see how she comes out. Did I get enough? I don't know if this is going to work. See, I feel like sometimes with these bottles, if you don't fill it all the way up, they have a hard time coming out. I feel like this one, that was easier to come out of its own bottle than that Jewel-It was. So let's see if I can get a little more, but I feel like I'm wasting it if I'm putting it in here. So let's see. This may be a no-go. Maybe just do it out of its own bottle. Okay, now we've got that precision tip. Yeah, that precision tip is nice. Some small ones. These little trays are great. They will also be linked below. And they come with a little tower, well, they don't come with a tower, but you can buy a tower that they fit into that, you know, you can keep yourself organized so that if you have, because sometimes I'll have, you know, I think the tower holds like 30 or 40 of these. And so sometimes I'll have all different colors out on a project, and when I'm not using a color, then I can just place it in that tower. That's nice. I'll try to put a picture in here so you can see that tower. I do like it out of this bottle. This is great. I want to see as well this tip. This tip feels like it could fit straight onto the bottle. So I'll just put the tip from this bottle. Oh yeah, so it works. Seems to work straight from the bottle as well. So maybe, oh. Yeah, see, these bottles are a little more squeezy, so I feel like they're easier to use than this one when you put the tip on it. So maybe we should not do tip. All right, so I like this one too. So we'll see how she dries up. And I feel like these last two, the Jewel-It and this Fevicryl, may be a good option if they pass their pull test. All right, and our last one is going to be the B7000. Now, I know a lot of you guys have used this one and have suggested it to me. So I have tried it before, and it's fine. But I have come to a consensus on something about this. I believe this is made, let's see where it is made. Do we see where it is made? I feel like it's probably made in China, which is fine. But I have seen this one come in many different packages and have many different branding. So I think what this is that it's a factory in China that has made it up, and you as a person can just contact whatever that company is and brand it as your own. Because I had somebody send me, very kindly send me, they were like, you want to try out my glue? And they sent it to me, and I'd already bought a package of this. This was like 2 years ago that I bought this, and I had tried it out. But somebody sent me their own glue, and when it came, it was in the exact same package, same smell and everything. It just had their own branding on it. So I think this is one of those, just like they just print on whatever on the package to make it a brand. So you may see some that have this exact same packaging, but it's all different branding. It's all the same stuff. I'm pretty sure it's just coming from the same factory. And so I think this one is just branded to look like a kind of E6000 type of glue, even though it's B7000. You know, they just change a couple of letters and a couple of numbers, and it's still giving the same vibe, but different. So I don't know if the China made this as their like E6000 dupe. And so this is the main one that they have, because this is the one that I've seen the most, but then they will rebrand it for you if you want to get, you know, 1,000 tubes or how many ever and have your own branded glue. I'm thinking that is what this is. So if any of y'all have heard that, please comment below. But let's try it out. It's kind of a gel-like consistency, similar to E6000, but a little different. It has a little, like, I can see it coming out now. It's a little yellowy coming out. I don't know if this is an old one, but it's not coming out as well. But yeah, see, there's a little strings. It's kind of harder. It's coming out a little bit harder. Let me just make sure I don't have another one as well. I think it came in a package of 4, so I don't know if this is the same stuff. Let's see if it comes out. Yeah, it still has a little bit of a yellow yellow color to it, but it's clear gel. But as you can see, it is leaving some little strings in there. So I think it would be kind of messy. But I know some of y'all use this, so you know, if it works for you, I always say go for it. But I'm just kind of testing what I would use. The crystals do go nicely down into it, so that is a plus. So we'll also see how does it pull. But it has a, you know, pretty good, nice gel consistency, and this is one that I think you can go straight onto it. I would be interested to see how quickly it dries. Like I said, the E6000 dries very quick. So we'll see how this does. Yeah, I mean, I do like the way that it goes down into it. It's a nice gel. It doesn't feel, you know, too liquidy like some of the other ones were. We're going to put it straight on, but as you can see, yeah, it's got a little bit of a yellow hue to it, which, you know, I don't mind if it dries, as long as it dries clear. So we'll put our 40 on. Yeah, it's definitely got a yellow, transparent yellow to it. But definitely, it's a little harder to come out than a lot of the other glues out of its own bottle. But it definitely, yeah, it's very stringy. Very, very stringy. All right, now we're going to put on our big one, and then we'll be done with this side of the test, and then we can wait and see how they dry down. But yeah, this is having a hard time coming out of the tube. Yeah, as you can see, it's yellow. So put it on. All right, so we are done. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to clean up. I'm going to bring you back up so you can see my beautiful face again, and we'll discuss at this midway point what I'm thinking so far, and then we will wait a week at least and see how they dry, how all that works. All right, so I'm going to bring you back up so you can see my face. All right, you can see my beautiful face again. Now that we did all of those tests, I'm going to give you my first thoughts here in the middle before we wait for them to dry for a week. Like I said, Today's July 5th. We'll wait at least until July 12th to let them dry out. All right, so let's just start back this way. Of course, E6000, my tried and true love of glue, I guess. Stuff is still, I think, for me, is the best stuff, even with the smell. So I think I'm just gonna have to, unfortunately, suck it up and use it. But it still works the best, quite honestly. Okay, so then we got the E6000 Premium. Now it says, smells like nail polish smell. Wouldn't be something that I would use. I think it isn't great. It's not as good as the regular E6000, so I don't know what makes it E6000 Premium. And then we've got the E6000 Plus. Now that one had no smell, but it was very tacky. I can even feel right here on it where a little glue came out and sat where it sat. It is very tacky still. And I think it's been at least an hour since I did that. E6000 would be just totally dry. Regular E6000. Let's see this one. That one's dry. And then we've got the Quick Hold, which is not E6000 brand, but it is still made by the Eclectic Group or company that does the E6000. And this one was says would not use, very liquidy. So yeah, this is a no. No. And did it come out a little bit? Yeah. See, there's a little bit of a tackiness to that one as well, where a little glue got onto the bottle. Now the Goop, love the Goop. I think that could be, I wouldn't be surprised if that's just a different branding and it's still an E6000. The smell didn't smell as bad as the newer E6000, but it was still similar to E6000. Like I think if I had not seen it on there, I would think, okay, this is E6000. Now we'll see with the whole test how it does when pulling it and all that kind of stuff. Fabri-Fuse, I still do not love it. I just can't get into this stuff. I know a lot of you guys use it. I don't love it, and just like looking here, I can see it's not dry yet, but it just looks messy in where I got the ring around it, because people said you need to get a little ring around it. It just looks messy to me. I don't think that I would send out a costume with that on there. And maybe it's something that I need to practice with. I know some people use it professionally, but I do not like it. So I still prefer that regular E6000. But I know a lot of people use this because they like it, and it doesn't have the smell. So if you can use something and you feel like you're happy with how it comes out, use it. I just, from looking at it and from when I've tried it out before, not really happy with the quality of how it looks. It just looks messy to me. Now we've got the Gem-Tac. It is still drying, but it even happened after this. This was before this. Still a little bit of white, but some of it is completely dry and it looks good. But this is one that it looks messy at first. And you're like, oh my god, it's going to look crap. But then once it's dry, you do not see anything. You may see a little slight ring around it, but it's not as bad as the Fabri-Fuse. So we will wait for that to dry to see how it looks. Now we got the Power-Tac, which is also made by the same company that makes this. And I believe I said no, would not use. Very tacky and messy. So yeah, this was not great. You can see here, I'll show you up a close-up in a week, but it's messy looking. Doesn't look great. So I'll be interested to see how that pulls. And then we've got the Fabri-Tac. I don't know if I have this was the one that was really liquidy. I mean, you can see it in the bottle. You can see it moving. It almost just looks like a very liquidy gel. So this would not be able to use. And I can see that it is very messy on it. And not great. So not a good one. Would not use that. All right, and then we've got the Aleen Jewel It Glue. I did not like it straight out of the bottle. However, if you put it in one of these, I actually really like this. So I will be interested to see how it dries down and when we do the pull and when we get it wet. Because I feel like the ones that are white are the ones that maybe people said when if it gets wet. Like if you sweat or if you wash it, it reactivates the glue and then they pop off. So we'll try that on definitely on the ones that were white. But I liked it in this little bottle. So I'm going to try to find this little bottle on Amazon and put it down below so that if you want to get one of these bottles with this. But I think so far at this point, I feel like I almost like it better than the Gem-Tac so far. We will see how it pulls because I know the Gem-Tac pulls pretty well. I feel like this would be a great one for if you do not want the smell, and you're doing your own costumes, you may be fine if like a couple fall off and you can just replace them yourself. I liked the consistency of this, especially when you put it in the bottle. Did not like it straight out of its own bottle, but putting it in one of these little precision tip bottles, I really liked it. And then we've got the Fevicryl. I know I'm not saying this correctly, and I'm sure that it's probably some weird letters that come together that actually make a real word, that they're doing a weird one, and I'm looking dumb by saying it however it is, but it says Fevicryl. However, whatever that is. This one was pretty good. I liked it. It was a little harder to get into the bottle. And it's a thicker consistency than the Julep, but it works really well in this bottle as well. And it actually works pretty good from its own bottle. However, I would not put, you can fit one of these precision tips onto the top of the bottle, but it didn't work as well. And I think it's because it's a harder bottle. So this has a bigger opening with its own. And so this has a smaller opening, but since this is so squeezy, it comes out better out of this. So I would either use it in its own or in one of these. I would not put the tip on top of this. And then we've got the B7000, which I know a lot of you guys use. It doesn't look too bad from here. I see a couple little strings, so I will be interested to see how that pulls. But I did like the consistency of putting it down and onto it. But you know, we'll see when it pulls, but it does have a couple little strings. You can get strings with the E6000. I just am so used to using the E6000 that I really know the technique to not be able to get the strings. So maybe if I worked with this a little more, it'd be better, but it was a little harder to get it out of the tube. So I did not like that. I feel like my hand would get tired of pushing after a while. But I will say that I was standing up doing this, trying to do it around my tripod where the camera was, so it did make it a little harder. But this is just my first reactions to these 12 glues. So let me know what you think. We're going to let them dry. We'll come back, but since you're watching the video, it's going to be very soon that you get to see the final results. I have to wait a whole week or longer whenever I actually look and see when I can have time to film the second part of this. But I think it's good. Now, if you have a glue that is not here that you use, that you swear by, please let me know. Either message me on Instagram, leave a message below down on this YouTube video, send me an email, bg@braggraphies.com. Let me know. If I can get like 5 or 6 or more, I'll do a two-parter of this and do a secondary to see what those glues are, because I'm sure there's some other glues, but these were just the ones that either y'all had recommended or that I knew about, or the ones that Eclectic sent me when, you know, I told them I wasn't happy with the smell of the E6000, and they were kind enough to say, well, here, let's see if you like any of these other things that we offer. So that was what these 5 were, even though I have tried these 2. I've never tried these 3. But so let me know if there's a glue that you use. All right, with that being said, we'll take a little break from me, and then for you, you just keep watching along, and you can see the final results in a week of what the pull and the wash and everything, how they hold up, because that's the most important part. All right, so keep watching along. All right, it has been 1 whole week since I did the swatches for a glue test. So now it is time to see the results. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you over top, and then I'm going to do a pick test to see how well they stay on. And I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on each one and let you know what I would personally use for my work. You know, I know everybody, you know, has different needs. So, you know, there may be one of these that you love, it works for you, but for me, it's not going to hold up right or not work the way that I want it or look as clean as I want it to look. So let me get you over top, and then we will do our pick test, and then we can discuss each one. And I will give you my personal opinion, and then we can go from there. All right, here we go. All right, I actually ended up bringing you guys over to one of my shorter tables because it's easier to film on this. I should have done this when I was doing the gluing of everything, because it's a much better view for me, easier to sit down. I was standing up. So sorry about that. I guess you live, you learn, so I'll know in the future if I do anything like this. It's just better to sit down at a table instead of trying to stand up at my cutting table, which is a few inches higher, and the tripod does not fit as well. So this will be a better view for you to see our pull test and my thoughts and opinions. Okay, so we're going to start out with the E6000. Now this is what I have been using for years, and this is what really they changed the formula of it. So that is what really made me want to do this video, to see, is there another option that I can use, because the formula change was, the smell was just terrible, plus it was making me feel high. However, I've stopped smelling the smell as much, but I still get a little high feeling when I use it. But if something isn't up to this standard, for me at least, I don't feel like I can use it, because like I said it earlier in the video, I'm selling a product that's very expensive, and so I want to make sure everything stays on. If you're somebody that's doing it for yourself or your child, and you feel like there's another glue that works, and that if one or two pops off, you can just replace them and that's fine, that's great. But for me, I really want to make sure that like my costumes hold up and that we're not losing any crystals. I know every once in a while you'll lose a crystal and that happens, but I would prefer it not to happen at all. But I really feel like E6000 really, really holds well. So when I do the pulling of this, like I'm pulling pretty hard, not coming off. Like I could probably, I know that, you know, if I use my fingernail and I pull really, really hard, I can kill my nails and get them off, but these just stay on. So great. So I can just take my nail and pull pretty hard. So if this is the amount that I want to pull, and if it's not coming off with this, then that's kind of the gold standard for me, that I know, like, okay, these are going to hold up and not fall off. And especially like on the bigger one, I can pull it back pretty hard and it's not moving. It didn't separate at all. Plus, what I like about this is that it has a nice stretch. When you put them close together, there's still a little bit of a stretch, which I know there was one on here, I feel like, that I tested out, and it felt like it definitely made it hard. All right, so this is the gold standard. E6000 is gold standard for everything else, because we're trying to find something that can possibly replace this. And if not, then I have to continue to use this, because this works perfectly for me. Okay, so we have E6000 Premium and E6000 Plus. Now these are, of course, made by Eclectic, which makes the E6000. And I'm not sure what makes something premium or plus. I did not like these as much as the E6000. Now, the E6000 Premium had a very, the smell was very, like, much like nail polish. So very strong, not terrible, but it just smelled like nail polish. But I would say that it's pretty clean. Not as clean as I got it with E6000, because I've really learned my technique with this. And that's the thing, is that you'll use something for a while and you'll get the technique down, and you can probably clean it up a lot more. So there may be some on here that aren't as clean as maybe you're able to do it, but this was just my first try at a lot of these. But yeah, this is a little bit, especially in these, it's not as clean as I could get with the E6000. So let's try a pull test. Okay, so this stays on pretty good. It is separating just slightly. Pulling the same amount as I did with the E6000. Stretch is good. But yeah, they're saying I'm pretty good. I mean, I could pull them off if I really, really wanted to, but I just need to not have them pop quickly. There's probably one down. I think it's the Fabri-Fuse. That has always popped very easily for me. All right, so Premium, it's okay. Didn't like the smell. I probably wouldn't use it because it's not any, like, the smell. If there was no smell, maybe I would use it over the E6000, but there's still a smell to it, even though it's different than the regular E6000. But I don't know. There was nothing about this that made me want to change to this. Now we've got the E6000 Plus. Now, I did not like this one. There was no smell, but it was very tacky, meaning like I got a little glue on my hand, and then it stayed sticky. And even I had some on the bottle, and like 2 or 3 hours later, it was still tacky on the bottle. So that was crazy because I don't think I've ever seen a glue do that where it just stays kind of tacky for a while. I'm sure there's a good use for somebody to use it, but for costumes, I did not feel like that was great. Plus, I got just a little bit on my finger, and then I was able to tacky up all the crystals so it takes the shine out because I got a kind of a greasiness over the top of the crystal. So let's try a test. Oh, let's see, that pulled much easier. See? So yeah, this would not be good. Yeah, this is pulling much easier away than the last two. Yeah, so I would not say E6000 Plus is a good use for this glue on fabric like this for what I'm using it for. So this is a no-go. So no, 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 no. Now we've got Quick Hold. This is also made by Eclectic, which makes E6000. I did not like, let's see what my notes said. I remember not liking this one. Oh, it's very liquidy. I would not use at all. Let's just try a test. Ooh, it's on there though. It is a Quick Hold. Oh, no, see, I got a little piece there. Once I was able to get a little piece, it just pops right off. So it looked like I got where maybe it came out along the edge of the crystal. It held it, but I normally don't like to see any glue. I like the glue to stay on the bottom. And that's what I love about these 6000 so much, is that I can get it just on the bottom. You're not seeing any glue come out of the bottom or out of the sides, and it still stays. It still attaches to the crystal. But there's some glues that, like, unless you're getting a little bit of a ring on the outside of it, it is going to pop off. So yeah, see, that just how quickly these pop off. That's not, you do not want glue that does that. However, I think this was one from the package. It did not say anything about fabric. A lot of these other ones say fabric, so this just may be something for another, another type of material that you would use. But they had sent me this. Remember, Eclectic had sent me a few bottles of things to try out to see if I like those better. But this one did not say anything about fabric on it. Now we've got Goop. Now, Goop, to me, is almost identical to E6000. I did end up this week taking some Goop and trying to glue on a costume, and what I did find with it, it seems to dry just slightly faster than E6000. So I was having to, with my pin technique, I was having to pull a lot of dead glue where it dries, and it's no longer tacky. You can get it on the crystal into the fabric. So I had to take a lot of little globules and place them over to the side because it seemed to be drying faster. So I think that if you're using that syringe technique with the Goop, that you would either need to just do a couple of dots and then go. You can't do a lot. I mean, you can't really do a lot with E6000 because it will dry quickly as well, but the Goop seemed to dry much quicker. However, it seemed to be almost identical, like putting it down for me wise, if it was wet to the E6000. And there was not really a smell, which I liked. So I was like, oh, maybe I can use this. But then after using it for about an hour, I was like, oh, this stuff just dries so much quicker than E6000. What I also did like about it, it seemed to be more like the old E6000. The new E6000, it's runnier, but it's not like more liquidy. It just runs out of the tube much more than the old E6000. So I feel like I'm losing a lot more glue because then it ends up drying out. But this seems to be more like the old E6000, where not as much as like running out of the tube, but it does seem to dry much quicker. So let's do a little pick test. A big stone, yeah. So that is on there, just like regular E6000. So this seems to be almost identical, like once it's on, to regular E6000. I just feel like it maybe dries a little quicker. So it is something that will work. And I did not really smell a smell. It almost smelled maybe similar to whatever the old E6000 was. It's just a quicker dry. So keep that in mind. So you can use this if you like the E6000 and you want to try something that doesn't have the smell. try this. I think it's a good alternative. Just a quicker dry, but not terribly quicker dry, but still very usable. All right, so then we've got the E6000 Fabri-Fuse. Now this is the stuff that a lot of people say they use and they love it, and I have never liked it because they would pop off easy for me. So I did a test here where I did it with like how they were popping off, meaning you're not seeing any glue, because that's how I like to see my crystal. And then somebody said you got to get a ring around it. So that's what I tried here, and see, when I got the ring around it, you really see a like plasticky look, and I don't like that. I need it to look nice and clean. Plus, I got a little messy, and it does not stretch at all compared to E6000, which has a nice stretch. So I'm going to show you, hopefully it works, where I pull it. See how quickly that comes off? They just pop off pretty easily. And so, you know, I don't like that. However, I think with like this one, since it's in there, it's going to be very hard. Like I'm pulling pretty hard, so it's not really coming off. So if you did it like that, it's probably going to stay, but I can still pull it off much easier than the 6000. But yeah, see how they just pop off? But that's the thing, is that you may not be pulling the way that I'm pulling. I just like to make sure. That's why, like with these, I really am getting my nail under there, and it's really, really, really hard for it to come off. Like, see, I'm pulling. That's after pulling at it for a while, and it's still not coming off. Whereas these just seem to pop off so much easier, and that's not something that I want to happen. But you know, if you're not pulling at it, it may be totally fine. I just do this test to see, like, see how easily that just comes off. I just do this test to see, like, okay, what if I pull at it? But that is what I did not. I liked the way that it went on. I just didn't like, especially with this, when I was doing it sparingly. But somebody did say you need to get a little ring around it. But then you're seeing this glue. There's some other ones like the Gem-Tac that gets white around it when you're first putting it on. It doesn't look great, but then when it dries, you don't really see it. And so that's what I'd hope this. But this gets like a little plastic ring around it. And so it just looks a lot messier to me. So see how quickly it was to just pull on all those stones, and they came off. That's not, you know, the gold standard for me. That would be like this. All right, so here is the Gem-Tac. Now I've used this before. Now this is not as stretchy, so right here on these, see, compared to this, I get stretch. This, the glue comes out of the side a little bit, and then it attaches. But however, like the last one, like the Fabri-Fuse, there was glue around it, like a little ring, but then you don't really see it once it dries. And so I really, really like that. And so this has been kind of a secondary thing, and this has been always the one that I've suggested to people, like, if you don't need to work quickly, because that's the reason why I don't use it on a regular basis, is that it takes a while to dry. Whereas the E6000, I can let it dry for 2 minutes and then I can flip it on the other side and start beating. But whereas this, I would have to probably wait 30 minutes or an hour at least to let it dry. But let's do a pull test. See, it really holds pretty well. So I like how well this holds. So this is just a little more liquidy, especially to the Fabri-Fuse, but it has no smell. But it, like I'm showing here, there's not much stretch. And I can kind of pull it out, but then when you pull it out, then you do start seeing the glue, and it looks a little messier. It's not as clean as when it dried. But I've always said I like this one. Now let's see with the big stone. Sometimes with the big stones, yeah, I'm like really having to pull, but I can get it off. It didn't come off as, like, it definitely stuck much better than the Fabri-Fuse. If you see the Fabri-Fuse, like the glue is perfect, and so it's just like it doesn't adhere to the big crystal as much. Whereas on this, there's still some on the back of the crystal, and there's some here. And so I really had to pull pretty hard. So I think that if you're not pulling, this isn't just going to wipe off, because sometimes, you know, you have to deal with at least I know with skaters, they, it's cold in the rink, so they normally wear a jacket that they put over their costume while they're waiting or warming up. And so when you do that, it's kind of rubbing against the crystals. And so sometimes with that rub, they can pop off. So I feel like something like Gem-Tac, it's not going to pop off. But after a while with the Fabri-Fuse, it could definitely pop off. Now there was Power-Tac. I hated this one. As you can see, it is so messy. It almost feels like a super glue type of stuff, but it's definitely not super glue. So let's do a pull. So I would definitely not use this. I think this was by Beacon, which also does the Gem-Tac. So it's on there pretty good, but I can pull it off. But I did not like it. Was too messy for me. However, it sticks pretty good. Yeah, like that's not coming off. That was good. Okay, Fabri-Tac. This is also by Beacon. I guess the tack is the Beacon's branding. So this is Fabri-Tac. This was the one, did I have a note on this? I believe that this is the one that was very liquidy. Yeah, it was, because you can see through the back coming through. So I would not use this because it was just so liquidy. Oh, but let's see how easy it is to pull off on these. Yeah, but this was very liquidy, so you couldn't even put it, like, it looks like you could put it in a syringe, but it just drips. It would drip out of a syringe. I tried that as a little test, not on camera, but it is a no-go. But see, yeah, they come off pretty easily. So no, 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 no. Okay, so this was the surprise to me, Aleen's Jewellet. This is similar to the Gem-Tac, and I had remembered this from when I first started sewing and beading, and I think I maybe used it. And then I switched to the E6000. But I really liked, it was very similar to the Gem-Tac, but I liked it's almost a little slightly more gel-like than the Gem-Tac, which I liked because I felt like the crystals hit on those better. Because with the Gem-Tac, it can be very wet at first, and it's better to like let it kind of tacky for a second before you put the crystals. But as I said, I work very quickly, so I like to put it down and then go right into it. So with the Gem-Tac, sometimes it's not quite tacky enough to hold the crystal, and so you have to let it tacky up before you can set it, so it takes a little longer, whereas this was a little more gel-like. But when I started here, this is just straight out of the bottle, so that's why it looks messy. But then I used, if you remember, one of these small bottles and put it in here, and this worked perfectly. So I've ordered me a few more of these, and I'm going to try this stuff on a costume. However, I guess we need to see, does it hold? Does it pull up? It pops off. Oh, that's upsetting. Okay, so it does not hold as much. I thought it would hold very similar to the Gem-Tac, but it pops off much easier. Yeah, so that's not going to work. Oh, I was so excited about this one. I thought it would hold up just like the Gem-Tac. It popped off pretty easily. Yeah, if I can just take my finger like that and do that. Some of them are good, but some of them have, oh, well, this is where I had a lot more glue coming out. This is where I had less glue. But yeah, where I had the less glue, where it looked neater and cleaner, they pop off quicker. Ah, that's upsetting. I wish if this stuff held like the Gem-Tac did, I would very highly consider moving to this, but this stuff pops off. And now I know some of you said that y'all use it and you love this and you've been using it for years. You may think, Brad, you need to get a little ring around it, but I'm trying to keep it as clean as possible. It looks pretty clean here. But yeah, it just pops off too quickly for me. So I would say that is a no-go, but I loved the way that it went down and how I could attach the crystals. Okay, so this is the Fevicryl. This is also similar. This was a white glue that was similar to the Gem-Tac and the Aleen. So let's see how it holds up. Because I liked how it went down as well. However, I did feel like it was a little thicker, so it did not work as well in these bottles as it did from straight out of its own bottle. Ooh. That holds really good. That one popped off. Popped off. So it's holding the bigger ones, which is surprising. That's holding pretty good. It's separating slightly, but I mean, I'm pulling pretty hard, so it's not popping off. But it's similar to the Gem-Tac, where it's holding a little bit on the crystal and a little bit on the fabric. Um, so I think that could stay if you didn't. However, sometimes, this is newer. Sometimes when you're in the costume, you're wearing it, and it's getting stretched a lot, then that can wear it out. So that's the thing, is that, this is a week and it's just been sitting straight and flat and it hasn't been on an actual body. So it's highly possible that, yeah, this is kind of popping off similar to the Jewel-Lit. So I would say the Gem-Tac definitely was the best at holding. Yeah, Gem-Tac was definitely the best. So I think you could use Gem-Tac, and then maybe if you had big stones, I think it would still stay, but if you had big stones and you wanted to make sure they definitely stayed, you could use a little E6000. But like I said, when you're wearing it, you're kind of, the fabric starts softening up after a while, after it's being stretched, and it can loosen up the crystals too, I'm sure. So this is the B7000. I know a lot of y'all use this. This is the stuff that I said I think is made probably in China, that they can brand to whatever you want. So like if you contact the company that's making this and you want to have Sally Sue's super glue for skating costumes, they can brand the front of the bottle to whatever you want. However, I think the majority is the B7000. So let's see how it holds up. So it's on there pretty good, but able to pull. But a lot of these big stones do not hold because you're able to get a lot of good leverage out of it. So the real test is on the smaller. It seems to be on there pretty good. I felt like this glue was slightly messy too, which I didn't love. But it's on there pretty good. Slightly separated there. I could probably get it off, but no, that's on pretty good. Better than most. Yeah. Okay, let me get my thoughts together. I'm going to set you back up, and I'm going to tell you what I think of all this, because I'm not sure if I love the results of anything. All right, let me set you back up over at my table and see my beautiful face. All right, now we are done. I'm going to give you my professional opinion. Now remember, like I said, I'm going at this from my point of view of making my costumes, which is they're very expensive. You don't want to lose any crystals. Plus, I want to be able to work quickly because I could do a lot of costumes. And so that is how I choose my glue. So the ones that would be an absolute no are these 5. So we got the Quick Hold. That one I do not believe was made for fabric. It did not say anything about it on the package. So this may work great on something else like maybe wood or metal or something else like that. But I don't think it maybe is for fabric, and that's why it peeled off pretty easily. So no, 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 no. And that's made by Eclectic, which does E6000. And then of course also by Eclectic is E6000 Plus and Premium. I didn't like either of these. One was super tacky and got messy on the crystal, had no smell. The other one had a smell similar to nail polish, but I didn't think it was anything better than the regular E6000. So I would just say no to both of those. And then we've got from Beacon, who does the Gem-Tac, which I love, Fabri-Tac and Power-Tac. One of these was very liquidy, and so they, goes to the fabric, and it was kind of hard to put into kind of syringe if you're used to using the syringe. But I couldn't even put it on my pen because it would just fall off. So no to this, and it didn't really, it was also messy, and the crystal still popped off. And then there's Power-Tac, which also was very messy, but nothing special. So I would say no to all of these guys. Now the ones that I would not personally use, but that I think that you could use if you are somebody who is doing costumes for yourself or for your child, and you're fine with having a couple crystals pop off if they do, and just replacing them. But they have no smell, easy to use, and go on really nicely. But like I said, over time, it's possible that they'll loosen up with the costume stretching out, because the fabric always seems to soften up over time and get a little more stretchier. So if keeps getting pulled when you're putting it on, these glues may kind of wear out and start popping off. So I would keep that in mind. However, I know a lot of you use these and swear by it, and so if it works for you, I say do it. We've got the E6000 Fabri-Fuse, which I know a lot of y'all use. That's the one that I had trouble with the crystal just popping off when I just lightly put my nail under it. And it's also leaves a little plasticky ring if you try to do a ring around the edge. So I didn't like the way that you had to do that to keep it on better than if you just put it on the bottom and it was a cleaner look. Then there's Aleen's Jewellet. I love the way that this stuff went on, but they popped pretty easily. And then the Fevicryl, very similar to the Aleen's or the Gem-Tac, but they also popped off pretty quickly and easily. So I would say I would never use these because I think they're going to pop easier on mine, especially if I'm doing a lot of crystals. If you're just doing one here and there, maybe works fine. But for me, I'm doing a lot of crystals, and I think they're, I could get a lot of pops on this. So this is a no for me, but maybe a yes for you. And then the ones that I would suggest if you want an alternative to the E6000 would be Goop. This is also made by E6000. It's company Eclectic, almost identical to E6000. It seems like it just slightly dries a little quicker, which I don't like because I feel like then I'm wasting a lot of glue and I'm picking off glue from my pen the way that I do it. And I don't know if you were to do it in a syringe, if if it would dry, if you did like 10 dots, if it would get dried by the 5th crystal you're trying to place on. So I would try this to see if you like it, but it may dry a little too quick. And maybe it was the bottle that I had, but it seemed to work very, very similar to the old E6000 and had no smell for me. Well, there's Gem-Tac, which is stuff that I've used in the past. It's a little slow for me, but this is the stuff that I always suggest to somebody if you feel that E6000 is too messy for you and you want to work slower and you're just doing your own, this is great. Crystals did not really pop. The big one did, but I pulled pretty hard. And so I think you could do all crystals on this, but I like this for the white glues. I think this seems to be the best. And then we've got the B7000. I mean, I know a lot of y'all use this. I felt like it was maybe slightly messy, but the crystal stayed on really, 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 really well with that. And like I said, there's a few different branding on the bottles for these, but the main one that you'll see is B7000, but I've seen other ones in the same bottle but just a different print on it that looks like a different brand, but it's the exact same stuff. And then of course the gold standard for me is still the E6000. I'll probably continue to still use this, and like I said, I don't really smell it as much as I did when I first got it. Just still make me feel a little high. Not sure if that's great, but I mean, I used it the last couple of days on costumes and I was feeling okay. I was feeling fine. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing that I've kind of gotten used to it, but it still is the best stuff. And so for my, my recommendation is still going to be E6000 over anything else, but these would be the options. B7000, Gem-Tac, and Goop would be the other options that I would suggest, but so nothing seems to be better than this E6000. And maybe they will hear us and say, you know what, maybe we can change it back. Maybe we need to change it back. Or maybe we need to figure out a way to get rid of the smell. Or maybe they won't do anything and we'll still buy it from them and we'll still use it and we'll get really high from it and get headaches from the smell. But I guess that is my thoughts on these 12 glues. Now, if you have a glue that was not in here and you want to suggest it to me, I'll take a look at it. Now, if it ends up being a glue that you're using and it is one of a different branding that is of this B7000, because I can kind of tell they're always in the same bottle and they look exactly the same, just a different print on the bottle. So if it's one of those, then I won't do it. But if you have another glue that I did not use here that you like and want to suggest, then maybe I'll do a little part 2 to this and try it out and see what I think of those. So please comment below if you use a glue that is different than any of these 12 that I tried out in this video. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I think this was interesting. I know a lot of y'all were real interested in this because we had a conversation on Instagram. I kind of put out to my followers there, like, what's going on with these 6,000? What are you guys thinking? And then I put up a post saying, okay, I'm going to do this video, and y'all like were like, oh, I can't wait to see the results. So hopefully, I know that's not too exciting. That like the one that I'm still saying is the best is the E6000, and what I'm probably going to continue to use. But you got to do these tests to see maybe there's something better out there, and maybe there is something better that for you than E6000. But for me, for what I'm using it for and how I work, how quickly I work, and needing nothing to pop, it's what I've got to use. But maybe one of these others works just fine for your projects. You're not doing as much crystalling as I'm doing. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for your child, and it's fine. Like, it works fine, and you're not having anything pop because, I am like pulling at it. And so I'm just doing the test of like how easy does it pop off. And so the gold standard for me is the E6000 because I can put my nail under there. Of course, I could probably get any crystal off of anything if you pull hard enough and you stretch it hard enough. But if it's not really popping with just like a quick, easy fingernail, then you should be good. Because some of these really popped pretty quickly with a fingernail. So I hope this was helpful, insightful. So please leave a comment below what you think, and be nice, because I know that like you may be using one of these glues that has worked for you beautifully and you've had no problems and you swear by it, and I'm saying it's crap. So be nice, but leave me a comment what you think and let me know if you're using a different glue that I should try out, and I will do a test on that. Maybe if I can get like 4 or 5 of those, I can do another little mini video where I do the same thing that I did in this one. So hopefully you found this insightful and helpful, and I think that's it for this video. So let's do our housekeeping. So please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. You know that is very helpful to me. You can check out my websites, bradgriffys.co and bradgstock.com. Those have either my stock website, where it has all of the stuff that you can buy that is ready to ship, or you can check out my made-to-order or custom work on my regular website, bradgriffys.co. You can also check out my Amazon store. That is where I house a collection of items that I use. So like scissors and electric rotary cutter and airbrush and some beading tools. You can go there and see what I suggest. And when you buy it, it gives me a little bit of kickback. So there's a link in the description to that. And I'm going to put a link to all the glues. Hopefully they should all be on Amazon below in case there's one that you want. And then you can click on those, and then it will give me a little bit of kickback when you click on those and you buy them. And I think I also found out that if you click on those links and then you decide, hey, I also want to buy, a computer, or I want to buy this cleaning house supplies, it still gives me a kickback from that. So that's kind of interesting. So I think it's if you're using my links to get you to the Amazon website and then you buy anything, it gives me a little bit kickback. So with that being said, if you want to support me and support the channel, that is a great way to do it. Because you're not getting charged anything more. And if you already need something on Amazon and you click through my links, then just put it in your cart and buy it, and it's super easy. And then it gives me a little bit of support so I can keep bringing you these videos. So please do that. And then I think that's it. Is that it? Oh, and then if you're enjoying these videos, I know a lot of you guys have friends who sew or bead or create, and they would enjoy seeing these videos. So please share it with them. And I know a lot of you are also in Facebook groups, or internet groups. And if you are in those and you think those groups would enjoy the content that I have, please share the video to them, because that is helpful to me to help build my audience. Okay, with that being said, I think we're done. So then I am also putting this video, I don't know, we're at the end, and most of you aren't listening, but I'm ending up putting out this video much sooner than I anticipated because you guys seem so excited about it. So I hope that you enjoyed my little tests, and I think they'll be very helpful. So I can't wait to see y'all's reaction to this video. And like I said, be nice, because I know that, I'm giving my opinion, which I'm going for this opinion through my work and maybe not particularly your work which may be different. And so one of these may work for you, which doesn't work for me. Anyway, that being said, I think we're done. I'm going to stop jibber jabbering. I think this could be a very long video. So I'm going to try to, when I edit it, to edit it down as short as possible, but I still feel like it's going to be pretty long. All right. So comment, subscribe, like, and then let me know if you're using a glue that I didn't use in this video, and I will try to do a test on that. All right, with that being said, I'll see you in the next video. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.